Greetings, my fellow intellectuals and bookworms. Time for a non-regularly scheduled video. As you can see, I'm at my grandparents' in Indiana in the fucking winter. Yeah, there's snow. I'm kind of surprised that my previous video stirred up such a shit show. I mean, I've done some pretty controversial videos, like the one saying fuck Amazon and the one condemning old people for screwing up the planet, but I'm surprised that this one was the one that pissed people off. Yeah, I got like 11 comments by different British people telling me to fuck off. Must have pissed off the Tories. Well, I'm gonna take another shot of the Russian roulette. Today we're gonna debunk common feminist talking points. Rape culture. This one goes without explaining. It's feminists who believe that men are congratulating for raping people. Obviously the answer is no. If you look at prisons filled with rapists or even people accused of rape who did not rape, they're always beaten the shit out of, beaten up. The only thing lower than them are child molesters. Patriarchy, an idea that men secretly control everything. It's an excuse to blame your shortcomings and failures on something beyond your control. Underreported rapes for women. No one ever reports on how at least 1 in 4 men are raped. And almost none of them are willing to actually file charges or report it. Domestic violence. In a lot of instances, yes, women suffer, but at least 1 in 2 men will suffer domestic violence, yet their problems are not concerning by governments and stuff. So, if anything, society is overly biased in favor of women. Child support. Well, to a certain extent, it's hugely abused. Based on statistics, 1 in 3 men are paying for children that are not their own. And if it's not your own, why the fuck should you have to provide for it? And it's kind of also redundant in the 21st century, since people can get jobs. The wage gap. This one has been debunked by everyone, but I have some new talking points, if you will. Education is something that people forget about. A doctor knows more shit than a nurse, and has longer schooling, therefore they're worth more. And in general, another thing is men take less time off and work more overtime, which definitely, impacts wages. And another very easy proof that this is some bullshit is pretty true. It's pretty obvious. If you could get away with paying women 73 cents on the dollar or 76, no company would ever hire men, because you could get cheaper work for less effort. So clearly it's some bullshit. And if anything, you can get away with being sexist against men. But if you say something like, oh, women should go back in the kitchen, women should, cook and clean and, take care of the kids and, then not only do you get called a traditionalist, you get called a sexist as well. But women can say, fuck all men, men are unnecessary, men are misogynistic rapists who, are entitled. And women get so many privileges in our society. They aren't subject to the draft in the U.S., and hell, they aren't subject to the draft in like any countries. The only 2 countries that have it are ones in which it's voluntary, in Norway and Israel, in which more than 30% of women are actually exempted out of it for bullshit reasons, whereas only like 10% of men are allowed out of it. And in countries with mandatory service times of 2 years or something in which you have to serve the military, most countries completely exempt women or, don't do anything related to that. So, if anything, and the system is so biased against, and in a lot of instances, men can have their kids taken away from them, cannot get to see them, and even when the mother is clearly unfit, like this one mother who was clearly insane, the man actually had to kill himself, and the only reason why it got any attention was because he was a big shot on the ABC, or Australian Broadcasting Corp, and on a suicide note, after hanging himself from a bridge, was, I blame my wife. She's insane and incapable of raising my kid, and I blame the family court system. The judge clearly could understand that she was insane, yet decided to give custody over to my wife. Fuck them, and this is why I killed myself. And even then, nothing was done. And another thing is documentaries. You can put up a documentary in this case. I really like watching this one. It's called If Series by BBC, British Broadcasting Corp, If Women Ruled the World. And it's honestly kind of interesting, if only because of how fucking stupid it actually is when you think about it. If anything, the economy is entirely service-based, which means that the majority of people are living on fucking minimum wage. So plenty of people are close to poverty. The elderly are fucking abandoned. The elderly are fucking abandoned to cheap imported labor. There's no child care, which is again done by cheap foreign labor. The women completely neglect their children. And if anything, we're supposed to be rooting for the woman of the story, who's a career woman, right? She's, a corporate executive or something. But she has 3 children, and yeah, one of them is successful, but all of them, she never sees her kids, she neglects them, and all of her children resent her and hate her, and several of the lines are just, I know one thing, I won't screw up like you did, and then she tries to get in vitro fertilization with some futuristic technology to avoid men, but then but she wasn't even able to take care of the kids she had. If anything, it made me think that society like this would honestly, that we probably need a system in which you need a license to have children simply because so many parents are unfit. But another thing that people seem to have forgotten is that the box that, you talk your feelings into and, it gives you feedback, it's like a digital therapist. The fact that it knows your name and it can see your face suggests that the government is a horribly dystopian place because they're spying on you fucking everywhere. So what if it's fucking private? Private my ass. This is the UK we're talking about. It's teetering on the brink of social collapse as well. And if anything, it's pretty clear that the government is fucking broke as shit, or even more broke than the UK is now. You know how it's tottering with debt and stuff, and that's even before Brexit? Well, they're giving out all sorts of new programs. Shit like, oh, free childcare for women, £50 a day, or a week. And it's like, presumably you have a lot more people on welfare because you have a lot more unemployment. You have a lot of men who essentially don't have jobs and who are angry and joining a resistance movement called Fathers United, which is a male rights organization. So you have a lot less people paying into the system, you have a lot more people taking out, and you have a lot more benefits. It's pretty clear that the system cannot survive. And the whole... So it's basically a dystopian hellscape, but since women are in charge, we're supposed to think that it's a good thing. And all the experts they bring on are either female chauvinists, misandrists, or, men who, support that position. And it's clear that feminism is ruining American society and presumably the world. Now, I'm not saying that we need to go back to a theocracy or that Muslims should take over, but what I am saying is, to a certain extent, the only dissenting voices they got were some women who said, women are a lot less happy now simply because they have to work. Who would have thought that feminism has consequences? But anyhow, she's a career woman, she neglects her children, she raises 3 kids, a younger daughter who, doesn't really do much other than serve as a documentarian, a man who serves as her 25-year-old son, who she absolutely hates and basically, constantly shits on, and who is rightfully pissed when, she neglected all of her children and she's getting a new one. And she didn't even, tell anyone this shit. But, so there's that, and then women are promoted ahead of him, so he's complaining that he can't get his promotion despite being there for 5 years, and a woman who worked there for 8 months is, stands a higher chance of getting promoted, and then she complained when he won the promotion. They imply that women would, rule differently, when in reality, women have been equally as bloodthirsty and terrible as rulers. Look at Empress Xi of China, she killed 1 million people, which if you calculate it out to today's numbers would be more than 150 million Chinese. So, essentially, and her oldest daughter is an MP who decides to quit her job because the hours are too high, and feminist mom says shit like, you shouldn't quit, you're sending a bad message to other women, and she's like, I want a fucking life. And the younger daughter is basically just alcoholic and, drinking all the time, or I guess you could say British, but I know.
Would you like to go get some Chinese? I'm sort of hungry.
Not this second. Anywho, like, comment, and subscribe if you've not done so. This is Sean Hartnett wishing you a good day.